And so we have what happens when we are cheating on two things. One of two things can happen. Either we will take the stance of that didn't feel good to me and I would never want to put that on someone else, or we can take the stance that F everybody, it happened to me, I don't care about nobody else, and go the total opposite way and do the very thing that hurt us to other people. Welcome to another episode of Becoming with Angelina Watkins, where we are turning dreamers into believers and doers. This is a podcast here to help you get out of your own way, heal from your past, become who God created you to be, so that you can do what He purposed you to do, so you can have the abundant life that He wants you to live. And I'm your host, Angelina Watkins, your queen of becoming, here to give you a fresh perspective and the blueprint to win at love, life, and money. So we're going to get right into this today. Today is all about heartbreak and cheating. And my thought prompt and my masterclass are polar opposites of people who and how they've dealt with cheating. So with my masterclass, we're going to be talking with LaNise Thrasher, who shares her experience of heartbreak and how she turned that heartbreak into purpose. But I want to start with the thought prompt, which was a clip that I saw on Instagram. And there's this podcast called the Wrap Up Crew podcast. So check that out on YouTube. But there was this clip, explosive clip, that I want to talk about today. But as always, I'm gonna let you watch it and then we'll get into it. So here we go.
Is he toxic to me? No. He does what the I want him to do. He's not toxic to me. Is he toxic to his wife and his kids? Absolutely, because he's not.
Well, why are you dealing with a like that, son?
What can we do with his wife?
Shade. Shade. It's
what you talking about?
How is that not your business, bro?
Shade.
That's not my business.
Bro, that sounds like no, you're not taking accountability.
That's not my business.
So
if he wants to cheat on his wife, why is that my business?
So what you
cheated on me and bitches didn't feel like that was their business.
Man.
Why do I care if this man want to cheat on his wife?
Man. Bro,
why, Eli? Why, Eli?
So what you be
Hold on. Why, Eli? Why should I care if this man want to cheat on his wife?
Why should she care if this man wants to cheat on his wife? So this is very interesting because when I first seen this clip, all I saw was the behavior. I saw someone getting really upset. I saw a young lady getting very explosive, and she's going off on the host and she's upset. And while many are looking at the behavior, my question is, did you pay attention to what she said? Because I always say that there's always something deeper. We see a display of anger. We see a display of frustration. We see a display of some negative behavior. But what is lying underneath causing the behavior? And it's interesting to me what she had to say, which was that they were talking about the fact that she's dating a married man, or she has dated married men. And, they wanted to know, and she says that he's not toxic to her, but he's toxic to the wife and the kids because he's not doing for them or taking away from them, because he's giving her whatever it is that she asks for. But I think what she doesn't realize is that it's toxic for her. It is toxic for her. He may be giving you everything you're asking for, but it's toxic for you just like it is for his wife, because he's never giving any one of you 100%. Because while he may be giving you what you're asking for, there's time that he's got to not give you what you need or be there for you, because he's got to be there for the wife and kids. And so there's always going to be some push and pull, some give and take, and it's never going to be 100%. And when you settle for those type of relationships, you miss out on the beauty of being with someone and having a lifelong partner, a ride or die, that is going to love you, be there for you, support you no matter what is going on. You are the priority. But it wasn't really that part of the conversation. It was the fact that, they want to know, why are you even dealing with someone like that? And her comment or her response in her anger, which is very true to say, was based upon the fact that this has happened to her. Why should I care about them when they didn't care about me? Now, that might not have been her exact words, but basically she's saying, why should I care about the wife when I was in a relationship, and I don't know if she was married, but they didn't care about her when they was cheating with her man. And so we have what happens when we are cheating on two things. One of two things can happen. Either we will take the stance of that didn't feel good to me, and I would never want to put that on someone else, or we can take the stance that F everybody, it happened to me, I don't care about nobody else, and go the total opposite way and do the very thing that hurt us to other people. We have a choice, people. We have a choice to say, I don't want to inflict that kind of pain on someone else that's been inflicted on me. Or we can take the polar opposite and say, you know what, that pain was inflicted on me. I'm going to hurt other people, and so that they can feel what I felt. And in this situation, her words make me say, did we choose the other way? If we had not been cheated on and we had been loved the way we were supposed to be loved, and they had did what they were supposed to do, would you be reacting this way? Would you be okay with being with a married man? Would you be okay with people cheating? There was a lot in the comments. I want to read a few of the comments because Shanna A. Rose, she left a comment, and then some people had commented on her comment. But what she said was, soon as she said dudes cheated on her and they didn't care, I knew at that moment sis is still hurt. If bothered was a person, she need to sit down, leave married men alone, or men in relationships, and heal. And I would have to agree with that. We need some healing here, because the moment that you hurt, and because you hurt, you decide that you're going to hurt other people. They didn't care about you, so why should I care about them? But this is an innocent person. This is not the person, that husband that you're cheating with. They didn't do anything to you, but you're seeking revenge and taking out on someone else what someone else did to you. And that's kind of not fair. We need to be able to heal from our hurt and pain. And when we don't address our wounds, they turn into things like this. So I had a few comments to Shanna Rose. I love this name. This person, Ms. Unbothered 117, says, that's what I said too. As soon as I heard that statement, so she want to hurt other women like she was hurt? Not the way to go about that, sis. She's disrespecting herself at the end of the day. It's not. That's not the way to handle your wounds. That's not the way to handle betrayal. That's not the way to handle somebody mistreating you. That's not a way to handle your hurt. Hurt people. And I think someone else had said that. We had Faith Fateh, who said exactly, she's still hurt. That's why she doesn't care, because she wants someone else to hurt too. Hurt people. And so we have to heal our wounds. We have to heal on what has happened to us, okay? So that we don't inflict on others what was inflicted on us, because then it just continues to be a cycle. And we had Cats.mx says, it's also so sad that she doesn't realize she is just repeating the cycle. She was hurt, so she wants to hurt other people. Unfortunately, it's at another woman's expense. It's going to be a vicious cycle. If she doesn't stop it, it's going to be a vicious cycle. She was betrayed, so now she's betraying. Right? And because I'm hurt and it was done to me, I'm just going to keep on doing this, and you're going to keep repeating the cycle, and you're never going to get healed, and you're never really going to get the full love of enjoyment and excitement of what love is supposed to be when you subject yourself to these types of toxic relationships. She's a beautiful woman that deserves more than someone else's man. She's a beautiful woman who deserves more than somebody else's leftovers. She's a beautiful woman who deserves more than a lying man. And all men are not cheaters. All men are not liars. Not all men dog out their women. There are some good men out there. And so you have to be able to heal and put yourself in a position that you are ready and able to get that love that you deserve. One more comment. This person said, once she made that statement, it became very apparent she's doing things out of spite because someone hurt her. She honestly sounds foolish for accepting that type of behavior. But hey, who am I to judge? She's walking around bitter and doesn't care whom she hurts along the way. Okay. Who are we to judge? We're not here to judge. Because, again, but it shows in the behavior, it shows in the outburst. It's what I call bleeding out. When we have been wounded and we've been hurt and we have not tended to that wound and it becomes infected, and then we bleed out through our behaviors. Our behaviors are a tall tale of where we are in our healing journey, your character and how you handle yourself and what you do. And I pray that this young lady does get the healing that she needs. But again, this takes us into the masterclass, our masterclass where we have the total opposite, right? The total opposite of how to handle your hurt and pain from cheating. So we have the young lady who was done wrong. She was betrayed and they were wrong for what she did to her. But her hurt turned her heart hard. It turned her into someone that God did not create her to be. It turned her into someone who says, you know what? I'm if this is done to me, forget everybody. I'm not gonna trust nobody. I'm not gonna believe nobody. Everybody lies. Everybody cheats. And I don't care who I hurt because nobody cared about me. And the reality is, somebody does care about you. Somebody does care about what happens to you. I care about what happens to you. I would love to see you, and I don't know if she is or not, but I would love to see her get the love she needs, not be with some lying man who cheats on his wife, because she deserves better than that. We all deserve better than that. So I'm hoping that she heals. But it takes me into our masterclass. Our masterclass where I interviewed LaNise. I had a chance to interview and sit down with LaNise Thrasher. And so LaNise is from Atlanta, Georgia, and she's a heartbreak coach. And she's on the other end of the spectrum. Okay, we had someone who took their pain and decided to inflict their pain on others, and then we have someone who was inflicted with pain and they turned that into purpose. You can let your hurt turn you bitter, or you can take that hurt and turn it into purpose and be profitable. And so LaNise had hurt. Divorce, it can take a toll on you. Let's not act like being divorced, being cheated on, and all these things don't take a toll on you. And it could take the toll on the strongest of the strong. And so I want you to listen to LaNise as she recounts being betrayed in her marriage.
So what happened was it was some cheating on his part that was happening, and it started to become more frequent. And I started finding out how frequent it was. And it was like everybody else knew what was going on but me. So once that was like, okay, everybody knows, and I've just been in the dark, like I've been just looking a little crazy. I didn't know that. So that was like part one of the tipping point. And then like actually just sitting with the information and knowing like this is a continual thing. Like it's happening, it's in your face, everybody knows. You got to make a decision and you have to say, okay, am I going to stay and try to work through this, or am I not going to stay? And at that time, we were in the middle of counseling. And so it was just like a lot was going on. And I was like, I can't do this anymore. Like, this is just continuing. It's getting harder to, keep putting on a face like nothing is going on. Like, this is just not working. I was starting to see more things. I was starting to connect more dots where I was like, okay, that's what that meant. Or, okay, that's where you went. Like, it was just so much that I had to really sit down and say, okay, you need to sit down and sit with your feelings and figure out what do you want to do and what makes sense for you. So that was really that like aha moment. Like, you got to love you more than you want to sit here in this relationship.
Now, this is going to be probably an odd question.
Okay.
But I'm going to ask this because a lot of us has probably been in that situation, right? Mm-hmm. Which is, I heard you say, everybody else knew but you. Mm-hmm. How did that make you feel that this was going on? Other people knew, but you didn't know.
I was a ball of emotion. So I was really hurt that people knew and I didn't know. I was embarrassed. Like, wow, like it's kind of embarrassing to go to an event and everybody in the room, well, maybe not everybody in the room, but a good 5 people knew, probably more, but other people knew, and I'm like the laughing stock of the room, right? But then I also was like, part of my thinking was, if they told me, how would I have responded?
Right.
Would I have believed them? Would I have said, no, that's not right? Would I have confronted people? Like, what would I have done knowing that in the moment? So I kind of saw it from both sides. But I will say I was very hurt. I was very embarrassed. And it was just like, okay, so do I trust people or do I not trust people? But then it was like, I know the people that knew had my best interest at heart, and they didn't know if I was going to be mad at them for them telling me, because, you know, a lot of times it's like a weird thing where if you tell someone what you don't know if that person is going to like hate you for telling, or if they're going to appreciate what you're saying.
Right.
So I was in this like weird ball of emotions. But I was definitely hurt and embarrassed.
So what would you tell that person who may be stuck in that? I'm mad at everybody. Y'all knew, you didn't tell me. What would you tell that person who's in that situation? Who's embarrassed?
I would tell them to be honest with your feelings, right? Like, it's so many feelings that you have when everybody else knows and you don't. And just really try to extend some grace, because you don't know if they would have told you, what would you have done? Like, would you have taken it and just said, I'm going to take it and I'm going to process it? Because a lot of times, like, if I tell you something, right, and then you go tell that person like, oh, well, LaNise said this, then now you're causing a whole lot of other things to happen. So I always just encourage people to sit down and really think that out before they go get upset with somebody or before they have a conversation. Because, you know, I've had people say, like, I knew this wasn't a good relationship for you. And I said, well, why didn't you tell me? And they were like, would you have listened? And I had to sit with that and say, that's a good question. Would I have listened? And so that's why I always encourage people to just take a minute and feel how you feel, but really think about, would you have listened to whatever anybody would have told you? Because maybe they did try to tell you, but they didn't say it as bluntly, like, hey, I know this is happening and I want you to know. Maybe they said it in a roundabout way, but you didn't catch it, or you got upset with them the first time. So now they don't want to say anything the second time. So I always just encourage people to kind of think through that process before they just get upset at people.
When you're hurting in a relationship, it can become hard to walk away, but you have to choose you. LaNise chose herself.
So I was married for 5 years, and then I got divorced. So I've been divorced now 7 years, and it was a massive healing journey because everything just kind of happened. Everything happened at once. It was like, you know, I found out what was going on. I'm trying to like figure some things out. And then it was like, okay, you can't do this anymore. Now you're going to get a divorce and now you got to go heal. Like, everything happened really quickly. And I live in Georgia. And at the time, it didn't take very long to get a divorce. And so it was like, paperwork was actually at the court in like July. And then I was divorced in August.
Oh, so wow. That is quick.
Yeah, it was very quick. So from the time I said, I'm not going to do this anymore, until the time I got divorced, it was like May. I said, I can't do this anymore. And then August, I'm getting a divorce. So it was like, it was just quick. And the thing was, everybody was just like, how was your summer? And I'm like, well, let me tell you. So it was a lot happening at one time. And ultimately, I had to decide, like, I'm choosing myself and I'm not going to be able to sit in this relationship anymore. So I just had to heal. And what happened was, so many people were connected to the relationship. Like, we had a lot of mutual friends. And so it became challenging to have conversations with people because I didn't want anybody to feel like they had to pick a side. I didn't want anybody to feel like, oh, I can't be friends with, her or him anymore. So it was like, okay, who can I tell how I really feel about this to? And then who can I really like sort out some of my feelings? Because at the time, I didn't know anybody that had gone through a divorce. Like, divorce was such a taboo subject that I didn't know anybody that had gone through one. I'm not in my friend group. Let me say it like that. And if they had gone through one, they were going through it at the same time that I was going through it. So I didn't know anybody that was like, I've gone through it and I'm on the other side and I can help you get through it right now.
So now take us, we're on this healing journey because you done been through a lot in a short period of time.
Mhm.
We done decided we're gonna leave. We have filed for the divorce, and I'm assuming you filed for the divorce.
I did.
And it's got the divorce in like 2 months. Did you have a divorce party?
I did not. You know,
Do you believe in those?
I think they can be a big benefit to people because it's like, woo, you know,
Talk to me about this because I think we got to talk about this one. Why is this a benefit? Why would this be a benefit to someone?
I think it's a way for you to celebrate you choosing you. And I don't think enough times we actually celebrate choosing ourselves, right? Even though divorce is so taboo and it's like, well, why would I celebrate that, right? Like it's a hard situation to go through, and I totally agree. But you chose to do something that was hard, and you need to celebrate that, even though it to other people it may sound real foreign, like why am I doing that? That's still something that you did, and it should be celebrated. Whether or not you wanted it or didn't want it, you still grew from that situation, and now you're on the other side. Now, I don't think people should go out and like do nothing crazy, but just like a celebration of themselves for like doing something that was challenging, that really made them not sure and really made them uneasy. I don't think there's anything wrong with just celebrating you doing hard things and overcoming those hard things.
Okay, I like your perspective. you have changed my mind some. I'm probably still on the fence, but I like it because I've never heard it said that way, right? And you're so right about that. Divorce is hard. And it's not easy. Whether you are the person who decided to leave or not, no matter what, it's still hard on both parts.
There's people who did not make that decision, right? Like other people made it for them. So I wouldn't necessarily like have a party immediately, right? I would wait some so that you can heal before you're able to enjoy that. Like, hey, I'm now a new person. So I'm not saying like, oh, I got divorced in August. Let's go have a party, August 30th. Like I'm definitely not recommending that because you have to heal. In my personal opinion, you can't just have a party to celebrate something if you've not healed. So when you asked me if I had one, I didn't have a divorce party. I actually took a trip, but I didn't take a trip right away. I took a trip probably about 9 months later. I took a trip, but I was in a healed place where that I could take a trip and where things that would have made me cry previously, now I could smile about. So it was like, I'm on a trip. I can appreciate where I am today because I know where I was previously. And now I can say, okay, I made it. I can do these really challenging, hard things. But I'm also celebrating the fact that I actually made it too. So that's why I didn't say I don't recommend them right away, but I do recommend celebrating you, whether you made that choice or someone made it for you, pushing past that.
Healing is a lifelong journey as you begin to go through the journey of discovering yourself, healing old and new emotions, and changing how you think and changing your behaviors. And so I asked LaNise, what does a healed state look like? Because I often get the question of if healing is a lifelong journey, then what does a healed state look like? So listen in as LaNise gives us her thoughts on a healed state.
It really looks like you're able to admit what happened, whether it was on you or on someone else. Admit what happened, understand all the shortcomings that you have, right? So you're focusing on you. So understanding your shortcomings and working through those issues. So whatever it might be, whether it's whatever that could be, like there's so many different scenarios, but whatever that thing is, you're actually working through that, because a lot of times people don't work through it at all. Like you said, they just sit in it and 10 years later they're still hurt. But you have to accept, like, this is what happened, this is how I feel, and you have to allow yourself to feel those feels, right? Like I tell everybody,
Absolutely.
feel how you feel. Like I'm not saying don't feel it at all, but you just can't sit there anymore. Like you have to say, I'm hurt, but I'm going to go do something to make sure that I'm healed. And so that's what it looks like. It's like choosing to say, I'm going to do something and I'm going to actually do it. Not just always every chance I get, I'm just wallowing in the pain. I'm not trying to move forward. Everybody that comes around me, I'm just extremely negative and just extremely like unhappy to everything. It's like, no, I'm going to every day make baby steps so then I can improve. Whether that be I'm crying on Monday, but on Tuesday, I'm going to get up. Maybe I just put some clothes on Tuesday, and then maybe Wednesday I go and I get something to eat, right? You have to make progress. You just can't sit where you are, because that's what happens. A lot of times people don't make progress because they don't even admit where they are, and then they don't do anything. They just sit there. And so I just always tell people, you have to get up. You can't just sit where you are and expect to be healed if you don't do anything. So that's really what I encourage people, and I walk them through that.
So what did you do? What was your process?
Well, for me, I didn't have a me to help me go through it. So it took a lot longer because I was just going through a lot of changes at the same time. So prayer was like number one on my list. And that was like, I had to do it. I had to, like, I always grew up in church and I was always really active and always just, learning and always doing that. But I had to get even more active, even more like, okay, God, I cannot do this without you. And I know that I'm going to be able to help somebody else after I get through it, but I need help right now. And I got the help that I needed. But first thing I had to do was pray and really say, God, I need some help. So that was the first thing that I did. The second thing that I did was just being honest, right? So I remember when everything first happened, a lot of my family didn't know. And my family is very close knit. So we had a family reunion, and I'm big on family reunions. I go all the time, but at this point I was depressed and I didn't know I was depressed. And so I didn't go to one of our events, and it really was like God made me get up and start exercising. I've always loved exercising, but at that moment I realized it was either depression or exercise. So exercise really, really got me up and got me out of my depression. Like I was headed for a really deep level of depression, and I didn't know it because I've never dealt with depression before, so I didn't know that's where I was headed. But once I got there, I said, oh, okay, this is where it was trying to spiral into. So I started exercising, and that really started helping me get my mind right and saying, okay, you can do this. If you can exercise every morning, you can get through this. And so that's really what I started doing as well. I started journaling more and really getting my feelings out there. And then I started going in places that would have typically hurt me to go into, to change that narrative in my head. Best thing
You gotta change the narrative.
you do, like places that you normally would cry or that was like scary, just start trying, right? So the thing for me that I didn't realize until I had to do it was going to the grocery store. I went to the grocery store with my ex-husband all the time, and I felt like everybody saw us there. Now, that probably was just in my head, but that's how I felt. And so going to the grocery store by myself was a challenge at first because I'm like, everybody's going to ask me, where is he? I don't want to answer any questions. Like, what do I do? And so I just started going by myself and just saying, look, if people ask me questions, be honest. There's no reason for you to hide it, but you have to like do this today so that you can do more later. Like you can't avoid it. At that time, it wasn't like Instacart was like available. So you had to go to the grocery store. So you have no way around it. You're hungry. So you got to eat. So go to the store by yourself and just start that process. And so once I was able to like go to the grocery store by myself, I was like, okay, you did that. It wasn't challenging. It was all in your head how scary that was going to be. So now let's try something different. And so I would just do small little challenges like that to just train my brain to say it's okay. I would go out to eat by myself. And, again, when you're with someone for so long, you're used to having someone else with you. So when you're first going by yourself, it's hard, right? You're like, people are going to wonder why I'm by myself. And they're going to ask all these questions. And in reality, it's all in your head. You just have to take it one step at a time. And then next thing you know, you can go by yourself all the time. And
how do you get out of your head? How do you stop that narrative in your head?
I just had to tell myself, like, you can do this. You can do this. And, of course, it's not easy at first. So you might go by yourself and just sit on your phone the whole time. Like, you might just need a distraction because you are doing something that's out of your comfort that you've not done in years. So now you're trying something all over again. So I just encourage people to maybe use your phone, right? If it's really you in your head, let's try things. So we can, grab your phone and get on your phone. You can sit out to eat and maybe call someone if you need to. So if you're not just looking at your phone, you can make a phone call. Well, that way it kind of takes that pressure off. And just find something good to eat. Like I tell people all the time, don't make it a hard, daunting like process. Like make it fun. Like I'm all about people having fun in the process because you still need to live life, right? You get it every day above ground is a good day. And so I don't want people to just sit and wallow in their feelings. Like, let's have fun while we're doing it. So let's try to add some fun in there. Let's go and laugh. Let's go and people watch, right? And let's just look at different people and find the beauty in something. So I always challenge people to do that because I think it's helpful. Even no matter if you're crying, right? But it's just still helpful to get out the house and try something new because you can't jump to like, I'm going to go hop on a plane by myself if you've never done that. But you got to hit these small things so that you can do those larger things.
LaNise has always been a cheerleader of love, rooting for love, and wanting people to succeed in their relationships. So it was inevitable that this would be a part of her purpose. But I want you to listen in on how LaNise at first was hiding from her purpose, but she couldn't hide for long.
I was always really happy, really like a cheerleader of love, which is crazy because fast forward, I created my business with this name in it. So I've always been the same person, always like rooting for love and wanting people to succeed in relationships. Even with just family and friends, I was always like, tell me more. Like, oh, you're in a new relationship. I want to know more. Like that was always me. And I always just wanted to hear and just be there for people. I will say as a kid, I did not know how impactful I was going to be around other people in the future. So I didn't know like, hey, I'm going to do this or I'm going to do that. Like other people saw that in me. Other people saw like I was going to do and impact a whole lot of people, but I didn't see that. So I kind of like hid a little bit because I was like, oh, if somebody did ever say it, I was like, no, I'm just cheering people on. I never wanted to like be in the like limelight type of thing. So so that was me. I was sometimes one to hide and just mind my business. But I was definitely this cheerleader of love ever since I was a kid. I'll probably say I saw it a couple times. So I saw it when I graduated high school. I started seeing it a lot more then. And then I saw it throughout college. And then I really, really saw it when I first got married. I saw it then. And then I saw it once I got divorced. So I saw it several times throughout my life. And then I would, be all in sometimes. But then especially when Heartbreak started coming in, I was like, oh no, God, I don't want to do this. Like, are you sure? So that was like the hardest part was towards the end when I was like, I don't know if you really want me to do this. Maybe you want somebody else to do this. So so that was like the hard part. But yeah, I saw it a couple times throughout my life.
So what did you see? When you said you saw it, what did you see? What was happening that you were like, I think I'm onto something. But then you're like, no, this ain't it.
Yeah. So I just saw how happy I was helping other people, and how happy they were receiving the help and how much help they were getting from me. And I saw it and I was like, oh, this is great. But I didn't know what to call it. I didn't know what it was. Like I was just being myself, which was just helping people. But like I said, I didn't really want to like be in the limelight. Like I'm helping everybody. It was just if you needed help, you came to me, I would help you, and that was it. So I just knew like there was something there. I just didn't know what. But I was always the one that people would come to whenever they had like relationship questions, if they needed help. And I would just help people. And that's just what I did. So yeah, it was like, okay, I see something is here. I don't know what it is. But then after I got divorced, so many people were like watching my healing journey and then they wanted to know more. And so I was like, okay, let me help more people. And then I was like, okay, God, this is a little much. Like, I didn't expect that. It's like, I just want to help a couple little people. And you want me to be on like stages and help more people. And I'm like, oh, that's a lot going on. So when I knew it was like I needed to do this was a couple years ago, I had shingles. And it was just a crazy situation because I'm young. And I just have never known anyone my age to have shingles. I was like, I don't know what this means. And so really what I learned from that experience was God really needed me to just sit down and focus on him and hear him, because I had been running from doing this for a long time. And then finally I just sat down and I couldn't do anything else, because with shingles, it completely compromises your immune system. And so I was just at home for 19 days, and this was pre-COVID. So this was like a couple of months before COVID hit and everybody was at home and it was in quarantine. So I learned quarantine well before like COVID hit. And so when that happened, I got really still and I just wrote down everything for the Love Cheerleader, and here we are today.
I asked LaNise about people hopping from one relationship to another and taking the emotional baggage with them of trust issues, jealousy, insecurities. And I wanted to get her thoughts on what did she think about people who are hopping from one relationship to another without healing. And here's what she had to say.
We have got to stop hopping into new relationships without being healed first. And, and like you said, a lot of people take years to heal. And the problem still is we have not healed from whatever happened to us. So we take the insecurity and the jealousy and just everything into this new relationship, and then we get in that relationship and we don't realize it, but we sabotage that relationship from being successful because we just never healed. So I really work with people to heal first. That is like the number one thing that I tell people is you've got to heal first. You can't just hop into something without healing. Now we are constantly healing and we're constantly evolving, so change is okay, but if you're still dealing with some major issues from this relationship that hurt you, you can't go into something new. You can't say, hey, God, I want you to bring somebody new into my life, but I'm going to bring these 15 pounds of stuff with me. Like, that's not fair to the other person because they didn't do anything to you, right? And so, and then ultimately too, like you never know what your hurt is going to do to someone else. So you could meet somebody that is completely healed, completely just ready to get in a new relationship. You bring 15 pounds of your own stuff into the relationship, and now they're dealing with your stuff, and now they have to heal from you. And that's not fair to that person. And so I always tell people you have to heal first. Like, stop trying to skip some steps. Like, don't say, hey, God, I want you to bring somebody, but I want to skip to step number 5. Like, no, let's heal first, because why would you want to do that? Like, God wants to give you your best. So you got to be best, like your best too. Like, you can't just ask God to give you like his best and then you don't try to do your best too. So I really, really encourage people to heal first, because it's just not fair to other people when you don't.
LaNise was a breath of fresh air. I really enjoyed my time with her. Now, you can check her out on Instagram at The Love Cheerleader. And she also has a free guide. It's called Moving On From Your Ex Checklist. So you can find that link in the description. So until next time, always remember, where you are, it's not where you have to be. Your past does not define you. You define you. So heal, transform, and pursue you.